Welcome to the Point Noted Podcast with your host, Johnny B, and co-host who shows up whenever he wants to, former NFL player, Rashad Barksdale. It's raw, unfiltered, and no topic is off limit. We talk sports, entertainment, culture, and a whole lot of random shit. Let's get to the point.
Point Noted Podcast. You're hanging out with your host, Johnny B. And on today's show, we have my man from the One Championship Series, Thanh Lee. Thanh, how you doing, my man?
Doing great, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Hey, I'm pretty sure I butchered your name, right? Did I?
No, it's all good. It's like John, but with the T, so Thanh.
Oh, Thanh. Okay. Oh, so I didn't do too bad then.
Not at all.
So like that. So that's really John, though, just different language, right?
I mean, it's a very common name, so it's as I'd say it's as common as John is here over in the States, you know.
Okay. All right. Because I know like Juan, I think supposedly means John. Yanni, I think in Greek or Arab also means John. So a lot of time I'll introduce myself as Yanni or Jan.
Oh, it's definitely not a direct translation, but pronunciation-wise, it helps.
It helps. Okay. All right. So I might get away with it. Might change my name then. Just to mess around with folks, man. What's going on, man? How you doing? You in Cali, right?
No, I'm in New Orleans.
New Orleans, Louisiana. How's the COVID out there?
I think it's getting a little better. You know, with our culture down here, a lot of people like to kind of let things roll off the shoulders a little bit and right. Try not to take things a little too seriously. And I think that bit us in the butt a little bit. But I think it's under control. You know, everybody's looking good as far as social distancing and wearing their masks and stuff like that. And honestly, it's business as usual for us because I don't really do the typical, like 9 to 5, and I don't really go a ton of different places besides stocking up on groceries and stuff. So,
right. So is most of the things out there back to like normal? Like there's no restriction on capacity and things like that.
Just moved to phase 3 here in the state, so. I mean, it's been relatively normal, you know, as normal as I guess it could be.
Okay, that's not bad. I mean, over here in New York too, we're getting close to full clearance. Right now, a lot of places still have like 25-30% capacity on things. The gym finally opened up last week, but it's like 33% capacity or something like that. Yeah, but man, look. So you're supposed to be in the gym with your mask on, and I'm not sure you probably seen this out there. But why do people have this mask just covering their mouth and not their nose?
If you're going to use it, make sure it's doing its job. Otherwise, just take it off. It's fine.
But you know what it is you can't get in the gym without it.
Right. So they half-ass it.
Pretty much half-ass just have it on. Yeah. You know, and I'm walking around the gym like, y'all finna get people killed in here.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. You might not care about you, and that's fine, or your exposure, but, you know, you can't just willy-nilly just be walking around public and not really giving a shit about anybody else's well-being, you know? Yeah,
unfortunately, that's where we are. And you know what still kills me, though? It's like there's a lot of people out there that doesn't believe, like, COVID is real. I don't understand how you can, with a straight face or with any common sense, say COVID is not real.
Right. I mean, you can, talk about the severity and how much of a threat it is to the public and yourself and your family members and things like that. And, you know, there's varying opinions on all of that. But, I mean, about it not being real at all, that's a little crazy.
Right. I'm just not understanding how you can actually say that with a straight face. And folks out here actually running around sharing the same opinion, you know, it's like, the government made it up. Well, so the government just killed 180,000 people just to fuck with us? You know, I mean, what is this, East Africa or something like? I mean, I don't get it. Like,
right. I mean, I understand. Like, I could see how maybe numbers are being fudged and this and that. That's a totally different subject, whether it's for political, whatever. But as far as the sickness affecting people, I've seen it. Like, I know people who were sick and with symptoms, without symptoms, was in the hospital, were not. My wife's an ER nurse, so she gets a lot of exposure to kind of at the ground level to see what's what's kind of going on in our community, you know?
Right. Imagine somebody telling her COVID's not real, man.
Right.
If she's she probably just start swinging at him. she's like, you can't be for real. COVID's not real. Come see what I deal with every day.
Right.
Right. So where'd you grow up?
I grew up here and right outside of New Orleans, Louisiana. Went to school, grew up in Destrehan. I live now in St. Rose, which is in between Destrehan and New Orleans, but about 15, 20 minutes out from the city. I train in Metairie, which is basically 10, 15 minutes out from the city. And then I train in the city. So it's not too spread out. We're pretty close. I mean, everything's pretty like in the same realm, and grew up here. My childhood was awesome, man. I grew up basically in a martial arts school, and
Nice.
And you know, training with my family. My dad, my entire family does or did Taekwondo, and my brother and I train obviously to this day together. He's one of my main coaches, one of my main training partners, and
Okay.
always been real tight, like family wise. Everything's been like small. We keep small circles, you know what I mean?
Right. No, that's good. When you mentioned being doing martial art, like it kind of runs in the family. Besides that, what else did you do any sports in school, in high school?
No, I didn't. I mean, I did Taekwondo was my main like sport. Grew up, we traveled, went to tournaments, things like that. I mean, obviously every day after school and stuff like that, we'd play ball in the street, football in the street, you know, tackling each other in the cars and shit. But other than that, nothing for like organized team sports. It was strictly Taekwondo the whole time. And I'm happy. I'm happy the way it turned out. Obviously, I'm happy with what that taught me, you know.
Right.
But it's been great, man. I can't complain.
Yeah. You mentioned tackling the streets. If you were to do another sport, you think football would have been there? Would you have been good at it?
I consider myself a relatively athletic man. You know what I mean? When you get into the real in depth to these sports, like I have no idea how deep that goes. You know what I mean? So
Right.
It's not fair to say, but because I know how deep martial arts and fighting goes, I know how deep football and baseball and basketball can go.
Right.
So it's almost like a gift and a curse to be at a high level in one sport. You kind of understand, like, it's going to take a lot to be good at something else too.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It takes
Absolutely.
time. So when people ask me stuff like that, I'm like, man, I don't know. I'd have to spend a whole lot of time doing that and a whole lot of time not doing this.
Right. You got to sacrifice. Right.
Right.
And while you was in school, though, like, so at one point, did your schoolmates realize you were a Taekwondo kid? Like, when did they find out that, you know, you were a fighter?
I mean, I wasn't like obviously like loud about it or arrogant about it or anything like that, but I definitely, you know, my friends knew, because that's, you know, anytime somebody asks, what are you doing here? What are you doing after school? What are you doing this weekend or whatever? Those were always the things that would pop up. So everybody kind of knew. You know, I never really got in trouble or scuffles or anything like that. You know, a lot of fighters always have these stories where they grew up either getting bullied or like,
Right.
you know, having to take up for themselves in the streets and, you know, take care of them or their friends or little brothers and things like that, and having to grow up fighting. But that's not really my story, man. I grew up in a pretty nice and easy situation, and my family was great. You know, having my friends growing up in school, and everybody was cool, not too much trouble, nothing too crazy. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's ideal, and it really gave me the opportunity to love martial arts, because I didn't have to fight. I didn't have to do this. I didn't have to do that. And I always had the options.
Right.
And it really made me love the sport, you know?
Right. Yeah, I always feel like, you know, every kid should have an opportunity to take martial art, you know, in some form or shape, right? You should learn to defend yourself at an early age.
I really think that's a huge part, you know what I mean? And we kind of talked about this before the call. Like sports, you know, sports done the right way, martial arts done the right way really teaches you how to be a man, how to be a woman, how to be an adult, how to grow up in life and deal with consequences. And hard work gets you what you need, and slacking, cutting corners really, you know, sometimes get you to miss the mark. So it's it's funny how that plays out. And I know you coach, and I grew up doing the martial arts thing, and it's really life lessons kind of carry over from sport to sport and throughout the rest of your life if it's done the right way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and to add to that, when you look at it, right, a lot of these kids are scared to go to school. They're getting bullied. They're getting bullied online. They want to commit suicide, and some have actually go ahead and committed suicide. And I just always thought to myself, this is all lack of confidence, and because your parents can always know what you're doing for the most part, right? Parents don't know what's going on because kids are not talking about it. But just having the kid be prepared and having those abilities to protect themselves, that can really cancel out, the bullying that happens in school sometimes. Because kids, if you punch one kid in the nose and blood start coming out, the whole school's gonna be scared of you.
Right. Yeah. And it does a lot for your, like, not your persona or whatever, but it really does a lot for your inner self to understand, like, I can control the situation. I don't have to hurt this man. I could if I needed to, but I don't have to hurt this man, but I can at least control the situation and have the understanding of what to do, how to get safe, how to get this kid safe, that kid safe. You know what I mean? And I think it's really, really important. A lot of parents don't force things on their kid. And I'm not saying you should force any sport or martial art, but being able to learn those things, whether you do it through sports and martial arts or you do it through just proper parenting, but those are things that have to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just think we take that whole freedom of choice way to, like, we just overcomplicate it, right? You have to force things on your kid to some certain age. That's your job, right? Because they're forcing you to care for them, right?
Right.
They're forcing you to change the diaper, make sure they don't pee in the bed, take them to activities. Hell yeah.
Right.
Force some sports on them. Force them to take taekwondo and martial arts and sports. And then as they get older, they can start deciding what they want. Eventually, they can stop. But, like, when they're younger, you've got to put them in things. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, I don't understand parents that say, little Mike doesn't want to go to Kung Fu. Well, little Mike going to go to Kung Fu.
Mm-hmm.
He's either that or he's going to have to go read a book.
Right.
And I guarantee you most kids say, okay, I'm going to Kung Fu. I don't want to read no book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think parents sometimes just forget part of your job. It's really to force things on kids. You have to. I mean.
Well, that's why they're not able to make their own choices. That's why you have parents. They do that for you until you survive. That happens all through the animal kingdom. You know what I mean? The parents are taking care of things until you can do it on your own. That's just the way it's got to go.
Right. Absolutely. So now that you're just training, obviously you're a professional fighter, and you just train. I'm assuming that's an everyday thing, correct?
Yeah. So my routine is I'll train a couple hours in the morning, get a little break, refuel, rehydrate, and then get a few hours at night. And then also, besides that, 4 days a week, I'll teach my classes as well.
Right. So what is that like to refuel and have to go back in the evening? Because sometimes when I go play basketball in the morning, I can do shit the rest of the day. Like my whole body is like just drained of everything. It might take me 2 days to be able to run again.
I mean, just like anything else, your body gets trained and accustomed to being able to go through a certain type of regimen, a certain type of workout. And then, you expect things, you train your body to be ready for, just like lifting. I mean, we've got these pro lifters that lift multiple times a day, but
right.
I mean, when I lift, I'm tore up. I don't think I can make it back in the gym at night, man. You know what I mean? But it's just a different type of, muscular activity that you're teaching your body. But it's, I think it's more mental than physical for me at this point. Sometimes, you have hard days and it's tough to get motivated and get back in there. But, especially with signing with the group that I'm fighting with now, it's literally the best guys in the world that you got to fight. So if that motivates you to get your ass back in the gym and really get better, then you might not be in the right sport,
Right. And you mentioned martial art being in the family. Did your brother fight? Was he a professional fighter, or are you the first one?
I'm the first pro. He's an amateur fighter. He's 3-0 right now.
Nice.
And I think he's gonna fight at the end of the year. But he's a monster, man. He's one of my main training partners. Definitely one of my main coaches. And yeah, he's 9 years younger than me. He's got a lot of time in front of him, and he's a beast, man. He's nasty.
Oh man, shout out to little bro, man.
Uh-huh.
Shout out to the up and coming king.
Yeah, y'all go follow him, Asian Cajun.
Asian Cajun, y'all heard it. Go follow him. So let's talk about the fighting journey. You on UFC, Ultimate Fighting, competition. Was it, I think, with McGregor and Faber?
Yep. Those were the two coaches that season.
Yeah. So what happened with that? Did you all right. So first and first, doing that, right? Did you think that made you a better fighter? What did you learn through that whole journey?
100%. It made me a better fighter. I think almost, the best guys will definitely take the ups and downs of the fighting game and really put that towards being a better person, being a better fighter. But especially with that experience, that was my first real exposure to UFC level fighters, coaches, teams, equipment, training regiments, things like that. So
Okay.
that was an eye opener for me, but it was really cool to train at a local level, get exposure to those types of guys that fight in the UFC, have,
Right.
close to fighting for titles and things like that. And then moving around with them and sparring and rolling with them and training with them and seeing that, you really do belong here. It gives you some confidence. Like, man, they've got something special. You've got something special. Like, this is where you belong. This is what you were meant to do. And, being around those guys, being around the Team Alpha Male guys and their coaches, getting a little bit of exposure to McGregor and his coaches and seeing how everybody operates and prepares and things like that. It was such a great learning experience. I ended up losing on the show. And made some great connections, though. The guy who won that season, Ryan Hall, he's one of my main coaches and training partners. And I train with him in close to D.C. in Falls Church, Virginia, almost every month. And he comes down here all the time to help me out with my camps. And he's helped my grappling game so much. My MMA game, I should say, not my grappling game, my MMA game so much. He's done. And then I try to help him with his striking as much as I can. So it's an awesome trade-off. But that show has really helped me build some really good relationships that I follow to this day. I mean, I got a buddy from the show that's fighting in the UFC tonight, actually. So
yeah, they got some the fights already started. I think we missed a couple of fights already, but I think it was the women that kicked it off tonight. So, but I'm pretty sure we get a chance to catch probably the last few fights.
Sure.
Did you get to watch the coaches train as well while you went at that Contender Series? Did you get to see any of the coaches train, or did they not train at any point while you guys were there?
No, they were in there with us for the Ultimate Fighter. They were in there with us and they were training with us. Obviously, McGregor stuck with his team. Faber stuck with us, the Americans, and
Right.
they were in there every day with us training. And then for that's another one you brought up, was a Contender Series, trying to fight on the show and possibly getting signed to a contract for the UFC. And that was a great experience too. Like, both of those experiences have been phenomenal, dealing with the UFC staff, dealing with the coaches, and obviously the other fighters. It's been great.
Yeah, the UFC is like where everybody wants to be, right?
Yeah. So what's early in my career, that I thought that was the option, go to the UFC or bust. And it's so awesome now. They got all these great organizations out, but with one championship, they are enormous over there in Asia, man. They've got, I think with every event, there's like 6.2 billion potential viewers. They're in millions of homes. Like, it's really incredible what they've done with their exposure over there and their fan base. And it's awesome, man, going over there and fighting and really experiencing the fans over there and how knowledgeable they are and how ride or die they are behind their fighters, their favorite fighters. Is freaking awesome, man. It's really cool to be a part of. And I feel blessed, and I'm that's what gets me up in the morning to go train. And
right.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I know. I was talking to my team that we have you coming up, and it was like, who is this guy? I was like, listen, man, we may not know him as much in the States, but the one championship, it's a big deal overseas. And I think a lot of people that watches. So I think a lot of Americans, obviously being here, we just kind of focus on American sports. Why globally people pay attention to American sports as well as their sport. So because I'm pretty sure we can find find a lot of Asian fans that love one championship series, but at the same time, they also pay attention to everything in the UFC.
Right.
But it's not vice versa. It doesn't go the same way where UFC fans know what's going on.
Yeah, I've found that a little bit. Like, obviously, being over here, growing up and living over here in the States, you see like nobody really pays attention to soccer and how huge of an event that is. In Europe and all of these other countries, man, it's insane, and we don't get any of that. Like, we don't get any of the excitement, we don't get any of the hype, and every now and then we'll get excited for the World Cup because the U.S. makes it. But those are kind of fair weather, like, oh, they're doing well, let's hop on this bandwagon. But it's the biggest sport in the world, man. It's insane.
Yeah, listen, on Saturdays I wake up at like 5:30, 6 in the morning just to watch the EPL soccer game. So.
Oh shit! All
You
right,
know what I'm saying? Like I'm a soccer fanatic. That's like on Saturdays for me all day. That's what I'm doing. I watch EPL, then I'm watching La Liga, and then I might watch a little Serie A with Juventus and all those teams. Like for me, that's what I watch. So I know what you mean by we have a lot of fair weather fans who understand how crazy soccer is in the rest of the world, man. Like incredible. Right. Like this is people's life. Like
Yeah, you think. Deal. That ain't shit, man.
Right, exactly. Like, look, I can watch the NBA, my favorite teams. I can watch the NFL, my favorite teams. And if they lose, I'm pissed off for like a minute or two. I'm mad about it. But when my soccer team lose, I'm damn near in tears, bro. Like, it is, for me, it is that important to me. Like, when I wake up in the morning to watch my team and we lose, I'm pissed off the rest of the day. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's that passion that soccer fans have for clubs overseas that I think MLS is getting there, and we will get there.
Yeah, it's definitely getting better. It's because my dad's a big soccer fan. He played like nothing like super high level or anything, but over in Vietnam when he was growing up, like not pro, but like semi-pro, definitely above rec, but definitely not a professional player. And all he did was teach taekwondo. Pro.
No one knows. Just call it pro. Just hype daddy up, man. No one knows.
He would teach for the state, teach martial arts, and then play soccer, and that was pretty much his life. And he'd make a little money, and they lived happy over there, And then he came over here after the war and got a real job, got a real career, but continued on with the martial arts thing. So that was shout out to Pops there.
Shout out to Pops, man.
Hardest working man I know.
Shout out to Pops, man. Shout out to all the Pops out there that are all working, man. It's a beautiful thing. All the mommies always get the love, and daddies get left behind. Not even cool.
We got kicks, though.
Yeah, not even cool, man. So your fighting style, who did you pattern about? Who did you pattern after? Who did you look up to and say, okay, I like the way that guy fights, or I'm going to watch a lot of video of this guy and see if I can learn some of that move? Do you have fighters like that growing up, might be UFC or just overseas, that you watch their videos and their fighting style and say, I'm going to try to add this thing to my skill set?
I mean, honestly, I do that to this day, and I'm fighting for a title here coming up, so it's an always evolving process. But when I first started getting into the sport and looking up to certain guys, man, like obviously my style comes from a Taekwondo background. So growing up and competing in local and national tournaments, I've always looked up to the high level guys in that particular sport. One name that stands out is Steven Lopez. He was American gold medalist, Taekwondo player that was phenomenal. I picked up, or I tried to steal a bunch of stuff from him. And then obviously watching the UFC, you've got guys with work ethics like GSP. You've got guys that have unorthodox movement and footwork and really safety when they're moving and fighting in the cage. And really their defense is great, like Dominic Cruz, Mayweather, those guys who really, really, lived behind the hit and don't get hit theory, that type of concept. And those are really big for me. Growing up and not getting the early exposure to boxing and wrestling like the other guys have, but really spending that much more time on my footwork and my Taekwondo movement and the in and out and fighting from long range. So I had to figure out how to make that effective, what guys were doing those types of things, maybe with different tools, but doing those types of things so they can keep themselves safe. And the longer the fight goes on, the better they would do. guys like Mayweather, guys like Cruz, guys like GSP. And those were like the big names that I tried to watch as much as possible and try to pick up as many tricks as I could, you know?
Yeah, GSP was definitely my favorite MMA fighter. I just love guys that have a plan, stick to it regardless of what's in front of them, you know, and they just impose their will on the other fighter or the other opponent, whatever sport it. I just love guys that can just do that. And the same reason why I love Mayweather, because like you said, it's about hitting and not get hit.
That's right.
So I don't understand this whole thing when people say, oh, you know, all Mayweather does is run around. Well, yeah, I can be running and still outpunch you.
Right. That's the thing is, if you wanted to see two guys go in there and basically do a bar fight, you've got to watch certain things. You've got to watch certain fighters because that's the way they do. It's not the way I do things, but it's the way they do things. Cool. Watch them fight. If you want to see somebody who's doing the sport to where what it's meant to do is I beat you up and I don't get hit in the head.
Right.
Because that can affect my brain. That can affect my future with kids. No problem. So that's the way I'd like to go through my fighting career.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I want to fuck you up without getting fucked up.
Exactly. 100%. Who wants to get hit in the face? Not me. I want to I want to be an assassin. I want to snipe you from long range, put you down, and take care of the job and get some money on the way.
Well, you know, as the Mexican fighters who wants to get beat in the face, and they'll tell you, see, me, you know.
It's that dude. I'll tell you what, I'm not taking anything away from them either.
Because they can take it, right? You know, their answer would be, I'll let you hit me if you let me hit you back.
Right,
you
right.
know, and let's see what goes down first. Craziness, man.
Don't get me wrong. Those are the best fights to watch.
Absolutely.
That's fun, man.
You just don't want to be one of those.
Exactly. Do my thing a little differently, but yeah, I'll watch that. I'll pay to watch that.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. So you got a championship fight here coming up. Who you fighting? Martin? Is that a guy in front of you?
Martin Wynn. I signed a contract to fight him before this whole COVID thing.
Right.
And we're still on the books to fight. We've just got to schedule out a date and a location, and hopefully I can get in there and take his belt from him.
Yeah. Besides him being current champ, what intrigues you about this fight?
He's good, man. He's really good. And I know I said this earlier, but fighting with this organization and fighting the best guys literally on the planet is so fulfilling and motivating to me. I don't plan on doing anything besides going in there and knocking this man out cold. But if I go in there and fight my best fight and I lose the fight, like I am fighting the best dudes in the world. That's the whole reason I started the sport, to see where I stand, show that I'm the best. So that's so satisfying. It's really like as a grown man trying to like fulfill his passion. It's really cool to be able to match up against the best guys in the world, him being one of them. And man, he's dangerous. He's fast. He's smart. He's got a good team. Like it's all positive things on his side, which is awesome. It makes him a great fighter, and it's going to bring out the best in me to beat him.
Absolutely. I mean, well, if you hit him with one of those body shots that you've been hitting folks with, he ain't gonna have. I saw one of those knockouts. There's a thing online. Tan Lee's top 3 knockouts, and I mean, you were just putting just body shots, man, just kicking them in the ribs and the side. And I was like, come on, man, you're trying to kill this man. Definitely.
At the time, I'm trying to put as much of damage into you as possible, and it's pretty cool, man. Like obviously after the fight, nothing but respect to the guys that I've fought. But it's you're in there, you're definitely trying to hurt this man because he's trying to do the same to you.
Right. You remember a fight that you had that you were like, man, if I could do that over again, I know exactly what I had to do. Like, do you remember those fights that you had that you just feel like you left something out there?
100%. There's one that I won that I wasn't a big fan of my performance, but I ended up winning the fight, luckily. But I had my jaw shattered. I threw a big kick. He threw a big old overhand right, and he hit me in my jaw, right on the side of my jaw, but my mouth was open, so it was probably hard enough I guarantee you it was hard enough to knock me out. It happened not to knock me out, but it did break my jaw in 2 places. So it got cracked in the front and at the left hinge. So it rolled in like under my skin. And I ran my tongue across my teeth, and obviously my right side was okay. But by the time I got to the left side, I'm like, man, I don't feel my own teeth. There's no way he knocked all of my teeth out. I'd see them on the canvas. And, I kind of went through my mind like, oh, I guess he broke my jaw and it kind of moved or shifted or something. I'm like, well, shit. If I go back, because the round was almost over, if I go back in between rounds, the ref, my coaches, whoever, they're going to stop this fight. They're not going to let me come out. I probably could have done some bad damage to my face. But the kick I threw was stupid. It was telegraphed. It wasn't ideal. But I ended up right after that realizing that my jaw was broken. So I kind of threw the game plan out the window and hit him with a 1-2, and he ended up going to sleep. But yeah, there's a lot of moments, in every fight, you're always looking back. Like nothing's perfect. You're always looking back and seeing what you can fix and see how you can fill the gaps. So the next fighter doesn't look at that and try to take advantage. But that's one that stands out that, I got my jaw broken pretty bad. Needed big surgery afterwards. But, I learned my lesson, and that shit won't happen again.
Hit him with a 1-2, put him to sleep. I can make a song out of that. What was the recovery like for your jaw? How long were you out for?
So I think because the break was so bad, they had to do pretty in-depth surgery. I was only wired shut for 4 weeks. I've had friends who had their jaw broken, not nearly as bad as mine, but like kind of broke it at the hinge only, and they were wired shut for 8 weeks. So I guess it was kind of a blessing in disguise that I didn't have to get wired shut for 2 months instead of 1 month. But man, it was miserable, sucking food through a straw, getting like broccoli and cheese soup stuck in your teeth.
Wow.
It was pain in the ass, man. I definitely wouldn't wish that on my enemies. It was rough.
Wow. Yeah, to be an MMA fighter, I'm glad I work in computers and the mouse and the keyboard ain't never hit me in the face, so I'm good there. So
it's a lot safer.
Always a lot safer. I mean, I might get threats online, but threats just hurt feelings. That's it. Right. But you did mention, you've got the championship fight coming up. There's a date for that?
No date or venue set yet.
Okay.
We're working on that now, but I think they're gonna make an announcement soon. So obviously, I can't say anything before they do. So waiting on that announcement to come out. So, but yeah, keep your eyes open for that one.
Absolutely, man. As soon as we find out, we'll definitely push it out. Hey, Thanh, man, I appreciate you coming on and joining me in chatting, man. It's been real fun, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks. And, anytime, I'd love to be back. Y'all have any questions, issues, whatever, let me know, man.
Hey, absolutely, man. I mean, as soon as we find out when this fight is, we're going to come on again and talk about it. And after the fight, when you win the fight, we'll come on again and talk about it. We'd love to do that.
Sure. Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely, my man. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Point Noted Podcast with Johnny B and Rashad B. Follow us on Twitter at PTNoted and Instagram at Point Noted. Hit the subscribe and follow button to follow us and check out more episodes of us talking a whole bunch of shit. You've been noted.